There's no Gina today. Ready?
No,
She's going to phone in just for the closed session.
but Paul is coming.
Do you want to text?
I did talk to him earlier. Let him know that I was alive. He's probably downstairs.
Okay, run on up here, Paul.
Oh, it's up here, not downstairs.
Oh, did he go down there? He might have.
Oh, because he would have come up the back staircase.
Yep.
I'm having trouble, right, when did we discuss that yet?
Yeah.
Because they're all up here.
Yeah. We'll get used to it, I suppose. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. The first thing we need to do is to approve the August 6th work session minutes. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Seconded.
Okay, great. Are there any changes to the August 6th minutes?
Oh.
Oh, go ahead. Keep going, Jessica. Okay,
All good.
okay. Any changes to the minutes? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay.
Abstain.
Abstain?
A couple abstains. Okay, very good. Thank you. Next, we're going to be talking about the storm water ordinance that we've been talking about for a while. And really, this is an ordinance about being good neighbors. I can recall meeting with Daniel, who lives on Woodbine, with a house built on Hillcrest where he could no longer use his backyard. And I know, Paul, you went over there and saw him. It was pretty bad. And really, there wasn't much the city could do to help. I remember seeing Tom Schmidt and a BMP that's dumping into his backyard that he can't use his backyard most of the time anymore. Pat Lewis, who had she and her disabled husband had their basement flooded from a new build next door. So really, the reason this all came up is to try to put more good neighbor ordinances into our system so that our existing residents don't end up with these kinds of problems with flooding. So I think we're just going to open it. How do you want to do that, Darren?
Chris, do you want to go ahead and start with some comments from your memo?
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Thanks for having us tonight to discuss stormwater. So I'll just make a quick introduction. I'm going to hand it over to Jennifer to go to the meat of it. So like the mayor said, the city of Kirkwood has a lot of infill development, and initially the city of Kirkwood started stormwater ordinances in 2019. That's when we started requiring BMPs to be installed with single family homes. So this is an update to that. We did a stormwater master plan that looked at stormwater across the entire city. And part of that plan was to look at our current ordinances to see if they could be updated so that we can address some of both the runoff issues globally throughout Kirkwood, and then also starting from the point source of a residential site or a commercial site. So with that, I will hand it over to Jennifer and we'll be open for questions. Thanks.
Hello.
I do.
So we had the public hearing and we heard from residents and builders alike at the public hearing. And then we also had opportunity for individuals to submit submissions online. And you have all those, you should have received everyone's comments and everything. Some high points from that The majority of the comments or the time allotted for comments at the town hall meeting was predominantly builders or builders representatives. The majority of the comments from the online submission were residents. Some were in favor, majority of them were not. Or let me put it this way, some were not in favor of the proposed changes, and the majority of them wanted to see something. The written responses, the majority of the identified written responses, 72% were Kirkwood residents or homeowners and not the builders. The biggest issue or biggest comment people had about was the basement depth elevation. That was one that seemed to generate the most comments. Everybody agreed for the most part that stormwater is a problem and it needs to be addressed. Builders were on the viewpoint that it needs to be addressed by MSD or the city and not on the individual new builds. Other than that, there wasn't anything else that really stood out that had overwhelming consensus that they didn't like it. You know, a few people didn't like few things here and there. Some of it was just not understanding the process. And I provided a question and answer form too, that where I could pick out questions that people had asked, and I responded to those individual questions in another sheet in their packet that you received. So do you want me to read the update to the ordinance, or would you like to ask questions?
Is that are you going to write, you gave us a sheet with 1 through 12 on it of the different ordinances, but what we have in our packet is the actual bill. And it doesn't seem to follow the ordinances that,
Totally different.
yeah.
Well, so 1 through 12 is, 1 through 6 is ordinance changes, 7 through 14 are the manual changes.
Are the what?
Yes.
And I believe Chris just emailed the manual changes to
Mhm.
us.
Mhm.
Okay.
They just came through, right, Chris?
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the manual, you got the red line changes for that.
Yes.
That's from feedback from developers and individuals trying to do stormwater mitigation in the city, it's been really reworked. There's more, and there's an example, and I think it's clearer and more direct than it had been before. So in the introduction is the biggest change, how that's formatted. And so you'll see that when you look at it. There's a lot of red.
Okay. A lot of red. Okay. So I think maybe what we should do is the point of us coming together tonight is to determine, do we want the legislation as it's written now to come to us at the next council meeting? Or is there anything we want changed before it comes to us at the next council meeting? So that is really the purpose. And sorry, September 3rd, sorry, not the next one. Yeah. Thank goodness we've got Lori right here all the time. So maybe the best thing to do would be go through the ordinance changes and then the manual changes, and we just discuss each one and determine, does that sound like a good way? to
So
do it?
the memo,
Yes.
okay.
Well, was anything changed from the memo at the public town hall till now? Or are the changes that we're seeing the same that were proposed from that memo?
Dated June 15th.
Correct.
I don't believe I made any changes to the memo.
So the changes that you outlined in that memo are carried over into what we're seeing and talking about today.
Correct.
Lori is going to make a copy of that memo for all of us. Some were clever enough to bring theirs with them.
Yeah, so the proposed ordinance is just the summarization of the memo in ordinance form. So we wanted to get that in front of you so that you could say, well, this is the actual language that would be passed on September 3rd.
As opposed to we shouldn't look at the memo or
Well, you can, my opinion is that you should go through the ordinance because those do reflect what's on the memo.
ordinance what you gave us.
Yes.
Yeah, but the manual changes aren't in the ordinance.
And
Right.
may I ask again, what numbers on the memo are manual versus ordinance?
Sure. 1 through 6 are ordinance changes. And at the other side, 7 through 14 are the manual changes.
You know, exactly as it's listed. Thank you.
You're listening.
Chris and Jennifer, can you clarify, would we pass just the ordinance or do we pass the ordinance and the manual?
Both. You're gonna have two items, because a revision, as code states today, and we don't plan to change it, it states that we need approval from the council to approve the manual. So it'll be a separate item that you'll approve the manual.
The two different votes.
Correct.
I understood.
And we do not have the manual changes to review today.
Correct.
So I suggest, that we-
These on the back of the memo.
but not the actual manual though.
It just got emailed.
I know, that just,
Right.
which is
106 pages just got,
106 pages
Yeah.
before we get, or after we get to the meeting.
Right.
It's too late for me to review.
I-
You guys.
Yes,
That's why I suggest that we hold off on voting on the manual until after the September 3rd
Great.
meeting to give us a chance to review, so we don't just,
that's,
yeah.
Okay, so today maybe we're just talking about ordinances then, 1 through 6.
That's my proposal or my suggestion.
yeah, so I
On
would
online.
think Jennifer just asked if the approval of the manual would need two readings. I would believe that would be by resolution. So then we could take that to the second meeting, when the second reading of the ordinance.
I propose that we just wait and do it, get the manual, then review it, do two readings if we need two readings. Because I don't like getting this stuff at the last minute anymore personally. We've done this for long enough in my mind.
2 years.
Yeah, 2 years. And so give us the right time to look at something and
Yep.
ask
That's what
questions.
we've asked for.
Yeah, that's all. That's
Okay.
just me. That's just me.
So but a resolution only takes one reading. Is what they're saying is that
Okay, so if
the
I-
second reading of the ordinance, which would be in September, the second
Right.
meeting in September.
the 3rd and 17th.
I think
the
the
17th.
issue is we don't have time. Could we have time between now and the resolution to discuss it in work session before we went to vote?
It would be September 17th, or could be September 17th. So we have three work sessions, 4 work sessions.
We've technically seen all of these, so
Yeah.
if we wanted to talk today about anything, we could,
Yes, in the
But-
memo.
and then from the memo. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's start with the ordinances though, because that's what so ordinances are 1 through 6.
So we're reading from the ordinance?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm.
So what did I just start here?
Just whatever changes you have.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so in section 3, item 1, all regulated infill development creating, did say 1,000 is going to 500 square foot or more of net additional impervious area is required to treat by means of capture the first 1.14 inches of rainfall runoff for impervious areas equal to the net impervious additional impervious areas, vacant lots shall be subject to this requirement. The maximum increase to a site impervious area threshold of 5,000 square feet does not apply to projects classified as maintenance of existing features in need of repair.
500 square feet,
500.
right?
500, I misspoke.
I'm sorry, that we don't hear from the public at our work sessions. I apologize, but maybe you could speak with them. You could speak with them afterwards. Okay.
Can we do these one by one?
Yeah, absolutely. That's how we
Yeah.
should do it.
Thank you so very much. Okay.
Got a question? You want to speak?
I wait my turn. Okay, so I'm trying to do a little bit of a compromise here.
Yeah.
So instead of going from 1,000 to 500, let's do 750 as a compromise. We can always go back and retweak it if we need to. But I also would, I believe, correct me where I'm wrong, that MSD has now gone to 1.25 capture.
Yes.
So
They're proposed.
Close. So I'm going with, instead of 1.14, to do the 1.25 proposal so that we match what MSD is going to do.
Okay.
For those of us who do plumbing, do not do plumbing, can you tell us what that means?
Well, I'm giving and I'm taking. How's
I
that?
don't know what you're giving. I know what
So,
you took.
We're compromising.
Go ahead.
No, we're compromising going from 1,000 square foot, not going to
That part I
500.
got,
Okay.
750.
So then the other part of this is going from an inch and a inch and 1.4 inches that they have to retain on the property to 1.25. And that's a suggestion from MSD what they're going with theirs, coming up in the future proposal. Am I incorrect with any of that?
Yeah, that's slated to take effect January 1,
Okay, so.
along with
trying
others.
to make us kind of try to be uniform with who's,
MSD.
right, thank you. Look at
And
that, thank you,
Paul,
help me.
what effect will that have on some of the homes that I mentioned earlier? How will that?
Well, the one that you talked about first, it won't have any because there's no stormwater inlet anywhere close. That's the biggest problem that we had on the first one that you were talking about off of Woodlawn and Hillcrest over there.
Yeah.
There's nothing on Hillcrest that until you get out over on Woodbine, not Woodlawn.
Yeah.
But they added a stormwater inlet in the backyard of Hillcrest to capture that water, so it's not going into that gentleman's basement anymore.
They extended the MSD sewer system and dropped a manhole
Extended the storm
and connected it to. I
inlet that was from Harrison
think so.
up to there to capture that water, but I would have liked it to take it all the way up to Hillcrest and captured it up there, but again, it's all about money and where money comes from and where we go. So
So you're saying that what you're recommending won't change that problem that
Absolutely will
young
not.
man had?
no, no,
But it wouldn't at 1,000 either?
no.
Okay. What about,
Am I correct?
Yeah, I mean, that has nothing to do with stormwater runoff.
Correct.
So that has to do with the basement.
Councilor Schaefer, so your second proposal is the compromise, that would be a new line in this ordinance that's not currently in there.
Correct.
Right, okay.
Yep.
What do you mean?
the,
No,
Seeing that,
You-
if you're on the front
Section
page,
3, paragraph 1.
yes.
right,
at
it
the
says
very
the
bottom.
first one.
So that
One point 2.5, right.
That'll go to 1.25.
Put a 1.25.
Yeah.
Correct.
But we just got emailed today about, right?
No,
the-
I
this something
haven't
different?
had a chance to read it. I literally just opened my computer and saw
No,
it.
there was another email we got about MSD.
Oh, that's about hanging the sewer in the house.
Oh, that's
That's
something
been-
different.
that's
Okay, never
totally
mind.
different. That-
Ignore-
That's not ours.
Ignore me.
Well, so they explain that, so you know, so
Yeah,
knowledge is power.
Yeah.
So, MSD years ago proposed this. So, your sewer ladder goes out of your house at a gravity feed out to their main. And so if their main backs up, it comes back in, backs up out of the floor drains and basements or out of toilets
Right,
and stuff.
right, okay.
So their proposal to get around fixing their problem is to make the homeowner or the builder come in and hang all of their plumbing inside the house and drain it out up high. So it doesn't, there's no way for it, because water seeks its own level.
Yeah.
So, and then you put a sewage ejector pump in the basement if you want to put a bathroom in or anything like that and pump it up to it, which is great. There's other places around in Kirkwood that have high sewer laterals out or sewer mains out in the street where they are hung going out of the house. This is just a new requirement that MSD is proposing. I don't believe it's become law yet.
No, it sounded like it's a question. Okay,
It's January
Thank
1
you.
also.
January 1, there you go.
thank you
Well,
for
that's the
catching me up.
proposal, whether that passes
Possibly,
all,
correct.
everything. Yeah, so.
The master
Okay,
class.
Comment period and
Questions about
Yeah.
this particular,
I want to make sure I understand, like, because this, I'm going to pretend I want to put a new shed in.
Hmm.
Right? Because this is where I think I want to go to the Home Depot or Lowe's and buy a 10 by 10 shed and put it in, right? That's what I used to be able to do and not trigger anything.
That's under 500 square foot.
Yes.
Huh?
It's under 5.
That's under 500 square foot.
Okay, so I just am trying to make sure for me, the
If you,
homeowner that wants to do a project or something like that, I could still do it, whether it's at 500 or 750 or 1,000.
as long as
Can
you
you-
don't put a footing in,
Correct.
then it becomes a buildable.
Give me a concept of something that would be the difference between a 500 and a 750.
I don't have my calculator.
Well, I was like, are we talking like
Size-wise.
a new addition and porch? Like,
Porches, it depends if the porch is concrete or
And how
wood.
large, obviously.
Concrete or wood, but yeah, it's just, that's just a square footage difference.
Okay.
Either 1,000 square foot or 750 square foot or 500 square foot.
Okay.
It's just
Start getting-
areas.
Problem is when you start covering porches and you start enclosing porches with screens and so forth, then that changes dynamics when we're doing.
Yeah, and they can't run through.
and one other question, and I know I should read all the details in the other book. Can I, is a capture, one of the ways I could capture, can I do rain barrels to capture that?
Rainbows aren't currently allowed for stormwater mitigation. You can, but it doesn't give you a credit.
Okay.
Currently.
okay, yes.
Councilman Schaefer, I assume that, so MSD's goes into effect in January,
If it passes.
January
yeah,
1.
It's a proposed that's out there right
and
now.
they have a process that includes public comment and all those things. So
Sure.
those, okay.
I'm sure it does. I haven't really.
Public comments in September 1.
11,
1.
1?
I think it's 1.
Okay, all right.
Perfect. Thank you.
Wait, Councilmember,
What's the cost to do something like this? In order, if I build something, if we go with 750 and I build something that's 800 square feet, how much extra is that gonna cost the homeowner?
Depends on what they do. There's multiple options for stormwater mitigation. And for
What's-
smaller projects, you know,
800 for a 40 by 40 size addition, so 800 square feet. Walk me through, what do I need permit wise? How much extra is this gonna cost? Because one of my concerns is the cost and affordability.
yeah, so,
Every time we add
right.
more regulations, it's more costs and housing goes up. And we hear about it from, nationwide.
yeah, so, the stormwater manual has a myriad of options. And some of the options are dry wells, which the home builders really like and engineers like. Some of the options are, taking it to your grass yard. It's existing. Some of the options are taking it to a existing flower bed that's 10 feet from the property line. Some of the options are building a rain garden. And if you build rain gardens, you can get grants from MSD through the Botanical Garden for that type of project. Their timeline on that is further out. Like if you're wanting to get this approved and constructed this fall, that's not going to happen. It's going to be more like this spring, but there's a funding source there also. So you know, for the smaller projects, I try, and for residents that are doing it themselves, I try to guide them towards the cheaper options of using either existing landscaped areas that they have on their lot or grass areas.
Okay, so let's assume I want to take it to a grass area in my yard. What's that mean? I'm building a 40 by 40 porch on the back of my house. So now I fall within this regulation or this ordinance.
What does it mean?
So
That means that
What do I do?
the area, so you would, you know, do the plans and show me that area is going to your grass. um,
I have a 40 by 40 and it has, let's say it has a gutter on the back.
Uh-huh.
And okay, so whatever runoff from the gutter
Mhm.
just goes to my backyard.
Yeah, the water runoff from the gutter would go to your backyard.
That's permissible.
The types of, pardon?
That's permissible if it just goes
Well,
to the backyard.
The types of, the construction that might be necessary if your yard is, if you're draining it into a peculiar kind of spot, is you would need, what's called a level spreader. It's just a gravel bar in your yard at a level elevation so that the water goes in there, it percolates out, and it sheet flows across your yard. And, that's,
That's the easiest case scenario, it seems like.
well, the easiest is to go to an existing landscape area.
Okay, so when you say existing landscape area, isn't my yard a landscape area?
Planted with plants and,
So I could take it to to a tree.
not, no, not a
Okay.
tree per se, but like if you, you know, if you had an area, I've had residents who have very landscaped yard. And so they take their downspout to that landscaped area that's of adequate size for the area of imperviousness that they're taking to it. And that's their mitigation. I mean, that area has to stay a landscape area. We still would inspect it. But that's an option.
Okay.
I have a question regarding Councilmember Schaefer's proposal. So I'm for keeping with everything they have, so I'm not willing to compromise on 750, except that the question for you or Jennifer is if we need to retain 1.25 instead of 114, is that a 1-for-1 for increasing 500 to 750?
That's what I said earlier.
I'd have to do the math.
It's a compromise.
I know it's a compromise. My question is that a 1-for-1?
That'd be somebody with a calculator.
Yeah, I didn't bring mine.
I got a one on my phone. Is that
It's,
sufficient?
well, so, to go from 1.1 to 1.25 is about a 10% increase, I think. We calculated it out. And so,
So not quite a 1-for-1,
yeah,
but likely not quite a 1-for-1 compromise, that we're going to allow more permeability. We're going to by 50% and ask to hold on to 10% more water. Give or take
Yeah.
a little either
here
way.
and there. Mhm.
So my concern for our homeowners is cost, of course, but you're not putting in cost to mitigate your water might mean my basement floods. And that's the concern. If you're adding impervious space, sorry, you need to pony up and pay what that might cost to mitigate your water so it doesn't end up in my basement. And where I'm not interested in putting more expense on homeowners than we can, a thought I've had, and I don't think we have this, is are there templates available? Can we create templates?
For
If you're going to put
design?
500, 750, you need to mitigate this, and this is how you do it, and we'll hand you a worksheet, and you go home and you do these things. We come out and inspect and check, you've passed, you're good to go.
All the BMPs have worksheets in the
I agree
manual.
with everything you said, except every situation is unique.
Yeah,
It goes back to what the mayor
Yes.
said. You have to be a good neighbor.
yes.
We could comply with this, and I've complied with this, but my water still gets in your basement. Okay, versus, well, why don't you just do the right thing and put a berm here, or put something up, put a little rock garden over here and do it this way? Well, Kirkwood doesn't require it, so I'm not gonna do it. I'm gonna do what Kirkwood requires and that's it, because that
Mhm.
costed me money.
Mhm.
You know, so that's the problem I have with trying to change this ordinance. Every situation is unique. And builders aren't required to do what's common sense wise. They're just required what MSD says or what Kirkwood says,
What the rules say.
what the rules say, and
Well-
then be damned with the rest.
Can our rules not reflect that common sense, whether it's a berm or a?
Well, I mean, there is an ordinance against nuisances, and stormwater runoff can be considered a nuisance.
You're not allowed to
Potentially.
discharge within 10 feet of the property line either.
Right.
I mean,
I'm a bigger problem.
is there not a way to have common sense measures? I don't want to make a homeowner jump through hoops, cost them an extra 10, 15, $20,000, and my addition still floods his basement. That's not helpful. So how do we?
So Paul, what you're proposing, the 750 and the 1.25, that will help mitigate somebody flooding out someone else's basement?
It will definitely help. It's not going to alleviate everything. It goes back to common sense again. If we can put a berm up, we can hold the water. I've heard this already about discharging the water off of that gutter that he's putting on and into the backyard. Well, that all works great if your yard's pretty level, but if your yard's like this, Deb's getting it in her basement because that water that's coming off, even if you put it on the downspout on the far side, it's still gonna come across that yard and get into that backyard of somebody else. So this is. goes
It's a
back to good
start.
neighbor.
It's a
It
start,
is.
though.
Right, yeah.
Well, and the only thing on the 750 that I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, that would then keep the ADUs possibly. I thought I saw somebody say our current ADU size. would not-
ADUs are
is-
whatever you design them to be. There's no standard size for an ADU.
Okay.
Setting for
So,
now.
but a 750.
But the minimum
might
is
be a-
750.
The minimum
I
750,
think
that's what it was.
Great.
Okay.
No, I thought it was the
The
maximum.
maximum, the maximum.
maximum. All
Uh,
right.
750,
Jonathan.
so by making it 750,
Oh, all right.
right? Then you're
Matching.
Jonathan, are we
Like-
right on that?
Yeah, it's maximum 750 for floor area of the ADU. So
Yeah.
we don't count, if it's attached to a garage, you don't count the garage part. So there are some nuances to it, but that's correct.
Thank you.
I would be
thought it was minimum.
supportive of
Okay.
making it 750 because
Okay.
then we're in alignment with the ADU. And so then that makes sense to me. I can deal with that compromise and make it 1.1 and a quarter.
1.25.
I can live with that.
Okay, okay.
Can I keep it
Well,
true?
if everybody
I'm
else
just
is-
trying to determine if
doesn't-
we want to change
Why
it
don't
for next week.
I'm listening on any of this.
We were in.
No.
We're,
I'm sorry, I was a few minutes late.
I mean,
Apologize.
other municipalities have much lower thresholds,
Yeah.
so,
Mhm.
and they have
Yeah.
larger lots.
Several have them higher,
Yeah.
so than that as well. So, and again, so back to an earlier point that you made about people that came and spoke. There's probably 2/3 of the people that I talked to as spoke are not only builders or remodelers, but they're residents of Kirkwood too. So they want to make sure that their voices are heard as residents, not as builders or labeled as builders or as remodelers. So I just want to put that out there and just have that out there as well.
But they do have their own lobby team as well.
Well, they do. of
Yeah.
course. It's like any other group, whether it's, yeah, all the way up.
Individual citizens.
I mean,
not so
it-
much.
I think the dollar talks louder than the.
Okay, all right, so I think we've done this and, should I have?
Well, see, I mean, we just need a consensus. I'm not seeing a consensus
Consensus.
as of yet. I'm hearing Councilmember Schaefer and Councilmember Burkett. I don't think we need to vote because we'll
No.
vote on this in legislation on September 3rd.
We're just trying to
just need a
determine what
consensus.
we want.
Do you guys
in
want to move
legis-
forward with the proposed, with Paul's proposed changes
750.
or move forward? with
I like,
the new?
I like Paul's changes.
I do too.
750 and a-
Got a
Here we go.
consensus.
1, 2, 3.
Okay, great.
Oh, you good, you're keeping count. Three fingers?
That's all I do is wait till you get the points.
Okay, so the next one.
Number two, all regulated infill development. This is all regulated infill development where the total impervious area on a lot exceeds 20% of the total lot area is required to treat by means of capture the first 1.25, I think,
That would be,
inches of rainfall for the amount of impervious area greater than 20% on a lot, or the net additional impervious area, whichever is greater.
And again, we're trying to align with MSD's new requirements that are coming out.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
that are we having something different here?
All right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
For single-family residential development, the total impervious area on a lot shall not exceed 55% of the total lot area. For multifamily residential developments, the total impervious area on a lot shall not exceed 85% of the total lot area.
Any comments or concerns with that? Okay, we'll put that,
Question,
okay.
tell us how that's gonna work with a 50-foot or 60-foot wide lot. We have a lot of those in Kirkwood.
I mean, so, I think I've said this before, there maybe has been one lot that I've,
Yeah.
reviewed that was over that, over 55%. Our consultant, I think, said there was maybe 80 lots in all of Kirkwood that
Okay.
fall over that
Say that number again, please.
80.
of existing lots.
80% of existing.
80 total,
Oh, exceed the
exceed
55%.
55%, yes.
Okay.
And there's 10,000 lots in Kirkwood.
Can I ask a question with this one, what that means for the narrow lots? I'm gonna go with what Paul's talking about, right? You're talking about the narrow ones, right? So most of the narrow ones have a longer,
Some do,
Right.
yes, you're correct.
right?
Mhm.
So what we're saying is they would have to be narrow, that 55%, they still have to meet the
With
Setbacks.
setbacks.
setbacks and
Mhm.
stuff, right? So
That gets them,
if they're
Fairly
doing their
close.
setbacks, they would still have that issue. Setback, this doesn't have anything to do with setbacks.
Nope.
So where would that throw them over? So a big, just trying to go,
potentially, I guess it could throw them over on things that don't necessarily fall within the setbacks, like if you wanted a big pool.
okay. So it might prevent a bigger pool.
We're gonna see it as detached garages.
Yeah.
So you're gonna probably see more front-facing garages of this. So that may be a unintended consequence of that, but
Because of the
You're-
driveway situation,
yes.
right?
Okay. So.
Somebody
everybody-
did say to me, though, that we don't allow the garages in the front. Is that true? We do.
There's a certain percentage it can take up of your front.
Okay.
It can't be more
I
than.
think it's 55.
Jonathan, what is it?
55?
Thanks, Jonathan. Sorry to keep asking these questions.
Yeah, 55% of the front facade is what's allowed for a front-facing garage. And just to remind, with the 55% impervious area, we also have under structure for every property, it's maximum 35%. Some districts have a lower. So really the improvements that you're talking about that would be above 35% and go to 55 are not roofed structures. So patios, driveways,
Turnarounds in the front yard.
paved things, because everything else is subject, everything with a roof is subject to the maximum 35%. There are some districts based on size that would be 30 or 25, I believe. Don't quote me on that, but 35 is the highest for structured lot coverage, and that includes detached structures as well. So
And I know I probably should have asked this question at some point before. I'm assuming when you guys went through this, you then looked at all the building codes and all this stuff and weighed it against of what that would impact,
Yeah, I
right?
tried to include Jonathan. I don't know the building codes he does. But yeah,
I just want to make sure I understood that we didn't see any major conflicts that said,
I worked with the planning department and with Brandon in the forestry department as applicable.
All right, is there consensus that we leave this the way it is at the 55%? I have it down here as well.
That's fine. I would just note, like, the memo did not include that 85 for commercial, right?
Sorry.
No, I'm just saying what Lori just handed us.
Yeah,
So that they
I'm
know.
sorry.
Yeah.
I
This is-
wasn't sure if there was something I missed. Sorry. if
No, I
missed
think
that.
you said it. I think you're fine. So I just wanted council to know that's also on there too.
We haven't talked about that yet, though.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
right.
We asked them to add it and then we haven't had a chance to discuss it since, right?
The 85%.
The
So you-
commercial development.
Okay, so you want to discuss that now? as
Well,
well?
I think that we should, if there's,
Disclose.
yeah, make sure that we're good with that going
Okay.
forward. So,
Are we good with that?
Good with,
Well, it's not commercial.
I'm
This is-
sorry,
this is
multifamily.
Multifamily,
residential, Sorry.
yes.
Difference, and why are we treating multifamily more favorably than single residents and single home builders?
Lenny's gonna.
We're gonna pull them in again.
Yeah.
So the rationale behind it, like Jennifer said, we worked together and tried to talk through a lot of these things, see how they impact each other. But the rationale is multifamily, or really commercial to a greater extent, but multifamily generally has surface parking or more surface area, and with a goal of trying to, trying to accommodate multifamily. There's a number of our codes that we've done to try to accommodate them and encourage them in different areas. We just wanted to make sure that the lot coverage for multifamily or commercial is just, it's not, because of their function, is not the same as single family. So, and there are, if you think about the community as well, is about 82% single family property. So if you really want to have the greatest impact, that's how you're going to have the greatest impact, is through those properties, regulating those.
So I could live on a piece of property and have a new home built next to me, single resident that has 55% impervious. And then on the other side of me, a multifamily that is 85%. And all of a sudden I could be flooded from both sides.
And they would be, the multifamily is also subject to MSD requirements, and they're more likely to trigger
Right.
higher standards than what ours are. So
usually they're not on, usually I don't think they'd be on a single family lot. They might combine a couple of lots.
Right? Being a green tree city and trying to get rid of concrete and asphalt, I don't like this provision personally, but that's just me. I think we're treating, and I'm seeing this on multifamily housing and I'll call it commercial housing, because this new project up at Kirkwood and Manchester, they're considering going down 24 feet, or I think it is 30 feet, 30 feet. And now we're at the same time, we're saying, okay, it's okay for you to go down 30 feet, but it's not okay for a home builder to build a basement. So, are we trying to become a town of asphalt and concrete with multifamily? Or are we trying to be a home or town of McMansions? I don't know.
Residential.
Yeah, I don't neither, really. is it? And so that's why, that's my, and I don't like that new part with 85%, but
So
that's just me.
I think we added it because we didn't think it was fair that there was no limit on multifamily residential, right? So there's no limit currently. Right, so it could take up more than 85 or under. current,
Without this.
Which is why we thought we needed to add
That's why.
a multifamily.
Yeah, today they could pay 100%.
So maybe it's a question of what percentage that is. I don't know, but.
How did you come up with the 85%?
Yeah, that's a good question.
I worked with Jonathan and, he mentioned that there's a number of ordinances and things that are in place because we're trying to encourage more, multifamily, housing locations in the city. And if it's too low, then it's just not gonna work. And if, and just to give it some limit, I looked at, the development there
Off-
at Adams,
The West Adams one.
144.
yeah, 144 West Adams, and I think James and maybe the Aria, and this was kind of a,
It's some of that, Jonathan, because we have requirements on multifamily for the number of parking spots. We require the multifamily to have a certain number of
Yeah, we do,
parking
correct.
available.
Mhm.
So one of the alternatives we could do is reduce the number of parking required and make more make less impervious. So you could
But you could do that, but then where are the where are the cars gonna park?
on the
They're gonna
street.
be on the street, they're gonna be
On
in
the
the
current
front yards.
We,
What is the ratio for parking?
Just put them on.
so outside of downtown, we require 2 spaces per unit. Inside downtown, we require 1.5 per unit. For what it's worth, we hear from developers fairly regularly that they won't build with anything less than 1.5 per unit. So even if we only require 1 or 1.5, and that changes, that's the market. It's not really what you should base your decision on, but just so you're aware, people may still propose that even if what we have is a minimum, not a maximum. So just be aware of that.
Just so I understand, we put this in, it's better than what the current rules are.
There is no rule.
There is no rule. So this would require more green space.
Yeah.
Right?
My question is missing housing zoning, so I can put 6 units on an acre lot. That's homes, but it's multifamily. If I'm building that, do I have to comply to MSD standards for that lot?
Acre, yes.
Well, yeah, so the missing middle, if it is an acre lot, but our missing middle doesn't require an acre, you could put 6 units on, depending on the location, it's to our density standard. So you could put that on less than an acre.
Okay.
And then Jennifer or Chris could speak to this better, but it becomes more of, I believe in practice, we've had MSD them propose or go to MSD, and MSD would say, yes, there's problems that area, we'll take it and make you do it our standards, or they'll say, no, we don't know of problems, you'll have to go back to Kirkwood and meet their standards.
Okay.
And in this case, without this provision, a multifamily would not have our rule, right?
As far as coverage, but not.
Right,
It has
just
to-
as covers, right,
Yeah,
right, but it would
still
still
has
meet the
to- it
BMPs. Yeah, yeah.
Has to adhere to all the stormwater
Right,
rules and
right.
regulations associated with every other development in Kirkwood.
thank you.
So it doesn't alleviate that aspect of it. It's
And
just.
because they're covering more square footage, are there mitigation measures higher than what I might have to do if I'm in the 55% coverage on my lot?
So if they're like at an acre, they're gonna have to design for flood protection, channel protection, and water quality. And flood protection is the 100-year and the 2-year storm event, and those are usually the big basins. Water quality is gonna be the bottom of the big basin where the rain garden is. It's called a low flow orifice. It holds back the 1.14 rain event. And then channel protection is another iteration of holding water back to the bulk of the water back so that it holds the peak, so that when it rains and it stops raining, then it gets released. It's at a slower release rate over a
So
longer
if
period of
I'm
time.
covering 85% of that acre
Mhm.
with multi-housing in a
Impervious area.
missing middle, I still have to do that mitigation in the 15% impervious that I still have. No-
Yeah, you would go to MSD and you'd have to figure out how to make it work.
Yeah, okay.
5%.
Yes, thank
Mhm.
you. I
Mhm.
think I said impervious and it was.
I have a
pervious.
question about pervious parking.
Mhm.
Can they get credit for putting in pervious parking and kind of like what Fresh Time did that?
Yeah.
The.
Yeah. So that was by MSD, that was approved and reviewed by MSD. MSD allows pervious pavements. We allow pervious pavements.
And you get credit for that or
It-
whatever.
Credit, yeah, it
Okay.
gets counted as as green space, so it doesn't count against you.
Oh, okay.
On total site impervious area. And then it treats, I think it can treat the size of it treats itself plus 1 or 2. I don't know off the top of my head what that treatment ratio is, but there's a treatment ratio associated with it. Cause it's about this deep with rock.
Walk underneath there.
Well, let me ask you this. On the 85% for residential multifamily, if they used pervious
Mhm.
parking, then, I mean, it could be a lot less than 85%.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I think we should be encouraging pervious parking on these multifamily.
Anywhere we can get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm,
So I
mhm.
know that
Yeah.
it has to be redone more often.
Does. It's just gonna have maintenance done to it. that's all.
Right.
Or, I mean, or you could use pavers, they last longer, you know, there's
Well,
other.
and even our rain swells have to have maintenance, right? We inspect, overflow of water, the rain barrel basins and all. That needs
everything,
maintenance, and
yeah.
we inspect that every 3 years, yes?
Yeah.
So it's
Stormwater
not
mitigation.
like
Mhm.
the water mitigation strategies don't need maintenance and inspections anyway.
Right.
Well, I'm wondering if we can lower this 85% then, if we're encouraging, if we want to really encourage pervious parking, couldn't we lower the multifamily? Could it be equal to the residential as Councilman McLean indicated?
Yeah, that was our original recommendation. However, given what Jonathan was speaking to as far as the additional parking they have, we thought the additional 30% allows for that parking. Now, if you want to encourage that, the pervious pavement, maybe you reduce it by some, but yeah, I think the reason why we didn't have an equal was that it would actually prohibit multifamily from coming into Kirkwood altogether.
Oh,
If somebody came and said, this is a problem, like this doesn't work, and they came, could they request a variance or go to someone to get a variance on any of this? Or is that like? this
What's
is
a
set?
problem and doesn't work?
So if I'm doing a multifamily,
Uh-huh.
we say we want it to be 75%. And they come back and they go, I can't meet that with all of this. Can I get a variance? Is is that a part of the process, or
It's
this
the
is,
Board of Adjustment,
okay,
I believe.
the Board of Adjustment could then override?
Yeah, Board of Adjustment only applies to the zoning code or the sign code or the
Okay.
fence code. So they would not, there's no provision that I'm aware of that would bring this to the Board of Adjustment.
That's what I needed to understand.
And a special
A way
use,
to get around.
there's not a special use permit that would bypass this if I'm multifamily.
It's unrelated to the
For-
stormwater regulation.
Yeah, so there's no other measures. If I'm building something at 85% or our code says 75% and I know my structure would be 85% covered, then it's just a no-go depending on whatever that number is and if I'm asking to do something above that. Okay.
Hold on, let's play this out. 85% of the lot size, right? You can't, how big of a structure percentage-wise can you build on any given lot? Build a structure, not driveway,
I
not
don't,
a
yeah.
pool.
I
Multifamily.
can tell, I'm not sure, but I can tell you, okay.
You can't go as high as 85%, I'm sure, so.
So, what I was mentioning earlier, how there's a tiered on single family, it goes from 25 to 30% to 35%. And that's based on the size of the lot in the zoning district. For R5, for multifamily, it's 40%.
Okay,
So that's for structure under
so the
roof.
maximum size of a building itself would be 40%. So the rest would be parking.
Yep.
And maybe, and so that's where it gets back to the mayor's suggestion of pervious parking. So,
Yep.
so I don't have a problem with 55% because that just encourages them to use pervious parking.
what? Let's ask
I
the
mean,
board to do 55% for multifamily. Would that obviously it's going to encourage pervious. Is it going to keep people from building?
I can't answer that. I mean,
Do we know what the extra cost is, the difference between asphalt or concrete versus a pervious? Do we
An idea of that?
have any
cost?
idea?
cost between pervious pavement.
Impervious is twice the cost.
Pervious.
Pervious pavement.
Is twice. the cost.
Yeah, because they got to haul all the ground out,
There's a lot of rock.
back in with.
And
rock,
special,
and then
special.
Pavers are asphalt.
So, okay, I think we all agreed with the 55% for residential. I would like to encourage the impervious, and I'm wondering about making the multifamily 70%.
Sorry.
Yes, go ahead.
I just wanted to, so I mentioned the 40% for R5. When I sat down, I was thinking about the 144 West Adams project. So just because my answer was incomplete. So we also allow multifamily in our B2 district, right? And that does not have a cap. And that's why projects in the downtown area structures can cover more. So again, I'm not trying to, my previous answer was incomplete. I just wanted to
But that also
correct
gets
that.
reviewed by MSD.
That's it. I'm sorry.
It also gets reviewed by MSD.
Again, if they trigger the 1 acre or if it's a problem area or something like that. So that one went to MSD because there was a lot of water
Right.
in that area.
Sure.
So, but sorry to interrupt.
I'm okay with 70%. You suggest, that's fine.
I'm good.
Yeah, I'd go 75, but I could do 70.
It was half. The difference between the 55 and the 85 is how I came up with it. So, okay.
I do have another technical question here. What's the definition of multifamily residential development?
You might as well just say that, Jonathan.
Put two podiums up.
It's not capitalized in this ordinance.
Wasn't supposed to be my item tonight.
And why wouldn't it apply to an ADU? If I want to put an ADU, is my property now become a multi-family residential?
No, so our zone, and the building code is different. So for any building officials out there, that they're defined differently. In the zoning code, and that's what we're referring to, and in Kirkwood, anything, sorry, I'll start with the ADU. An ADU is an accessory use to the single family. So it's not considered, while it is 2 dwelling units, it's limited to be accessory smaller. And so it is still a special use in our single family, right? And then to have a duplex or more, it requires multifamily zoning.
It goes back to the zoning definitions. It
Correct,
sounds like.
correct.
I just know what good attorneys can do sometimes.
Mayor, if I can.
Run
slow this
circles
down.
around me, I know that, so.
Okay.
Jennifer, how much percentage does James take up on their lot? Do you know that? And then, oh shoot, I had it this afternoon. What's the new one going in at Adams and Kirkwood?
That one over there is at 90.
Okay,
That's the west, 144 West.
West 144 West Adams.
Hitting in place.
Pittman, yes.
That hasn't been-
I hasn't been looked at yet. I
All right,
haven't
so
seen that
do-
one.
What was James? Was that 90?
No, 140, the Adams project.
Do we know how much space the James takes up on their land?
I do not have that with me. I
All right.
didn't know it.
Do we know the ones across the street from us, the condos that went in or the atrial?
I have
Atrium?
not, I didn't even look at those. Those
Okay,
were a while ago.
all right. I'm just wondering if,
It's a downtown area also.
and I know we have distinctions of building in downtown, but will these stormwater changes make that differentiation between downtown and not downtown?
No. No, they're not proposed to.
So is that, so that might limit
Uh-huh.
building of downtown.
Yes.
I think that could be a concern as if we have additional properties that people want to build on in downtown. Unless all of their parking is underground and it's already not taking up surface space,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right, that would be good though, because if it's all underground, that means there'd be more green space up on top.
Not necessarily. It could be covered by a larger footprint of the building.
Up to 75% or up to 70%.
70%.
I'm just wondering if that would restrict builders from wanting to come in and build if they can only put on to 70% of the lot.
Hmm.
I don't,
I think we'll wait and see. I mean, if we've gone too far, I think 100% is too far.
Yeah,
55% would be too far this way. 70% is, somewhat in the middle. Is it right? Maybe not, but
but then my
Going to-
concern is if this is what it is, what I believe I've just asked is there's no exception and there's no way for somebody to come and ask for special use or an adjustment or, what's the relief?
What's the relief on this if
How would we know that in this instance, 70% is too small for what somebody wants to build?
that go back to B of A, or where does that go?
No.
No, they would, yeah, and
Again, I just want to be sure.
And the other thing to note is, unlike the zoning code, an outside entity can't petition to change the code either. They would just lobby you all to do it, right? So in the zoning code, anybody can apply to change. So just be aware of that. And then maybe a suggestion would be if you all pick a number, whatever it is, 70, 75%, staff could look at which those, those three properties,
Mhm.
just to give you an idea, before the next meeting.
And the
you could
James
always-
and I apologize, atrial.
Area.
Area, yeah, see?
So if we want to pull, there's three over there and those.
Well, I'm in the ballpark and I'm usually incorrect.
He gets the first one.
Right, I got the first letter. Okay, but to know what the existing structures already have, I just don't want to thwart building without relief. If anybody can apply for a zoning or for a building, and then it goes to P and Z, and then they run into this hurdle, then what's the relief from there?
Well, so anything that's proposed through P and Z for a site plan, and then it would go through engineering review, and they would make a comment that you exceed 75%, it's not allowed.
But
They
then it
would have-
doesn't even get to P and Z.
Hopefully not.
Well, but then where's the relief
Right.
for somebody who might be asking for,
So,
petition us.
They do it all the time.
so the only, the P and Z, they're kind of the odd person, or the zoning regulations are kind of the odd person out as far as relief.
okay,
All other city ordinances, there's no relief other than going to your elected officials.
so they would have to lobby us individually and ask us to get
Or-
something on the agenda?
Or provide public comment, emails to
All
you
right.
all as a group, whatever. I mean, the,
Councilwoman Lavender, ask any developer that's in the room here. They'll build as big a footprint as you allow them.
I understand. That part I know, but I also don't necessarily, especially in the downtown area where we have buildings that are already in that, come right up to the sidewalk. I don't necessarily want to penalize future builders because we're saying you can only do 70%, where heck, yeah, too bad you weren't here 6 months ago. We would have let you do 105%,
It's just the difference.
That's not a bad thing. I mean,
Right.
yeah. Again, we may be going too far, but 2 years from now,
Right.
you're still on this and we're not.
And it's, as long as there's regress, whether it's somebody coming to council,
Yeah.
whether it's sending an email, I
Beautiful.
think that's kind of what I'm looking for. All right.
Okay, so I'm sorry,
Open.
where have we, what? I
70.
missed
70.
70, everybody's
All those
cool
in
with
favor
70?
say
Okay.
aye.
So I just want to point out something that we've gotten to 2 of the 6 and we've already been here an hour.
But we knew,
So,
this would be a long meeting.
Yes.
yeah, okay. Just want you to know.
Isn't even here yet.
Okay, the next one, let's move on to it right away. This one's going to be a biggie.
This is a big one.
This is what I've been waiting for. Go ahead, Mayor.
New residential basement and basement extension shall not be constructed with a finished floor elevation lower than 2 feet above the seasonal high groundwater table. The elevation of the seasonal high groundwater table shall be demonstrated through submission of a geotech report or by reference to the depth to water table map as set forth in Appendix L of the final Kirkwood's citywide stormwater master plan. placement or extension of an existing basement is exempt from this requirement, provided that the finished floor elevation is not lower than that of the existing basement.
I feel like this is a really big, good neighbor. We know that there are a lot of sunk pumps that run over sidewalks and over streets, and they freeze in the winter and they have algae, slick algae in the summer. This does allow, I mean, I had somebody come up to me over the weekend and say, "You're not going to allow any basements?" That's not true. Basements that are existing, they can go into the same footprint. Or they can see if the groundwater is lower. Now, I'm sorry, Chris, you and I talked about whether some pumps can go into inlets or into creeks. Let everyone know the response to that.
I think the question you asked was that if I put a pipe into a creek or into an MSD inlet, do I still have to abide by the rule of the basement height? And the answer is, from a staff perspective, is you would still, by putting in a pipe or something, that does not alleviate the groundwater table from lowering to the groundwater or to the pipe elevation. So just putting in a pipe to a storm system or to a creek, if you have one next to you, would not alleviate the requirement of not having a base, or the requirement of meeting this requirement.
Okay, thank you.
Does that make sense?
Yep. Okay, yes, Justin.
Of the 6 ordinance changes, I find this one to be the most problematic. I think it's the one we hear about the most, from residents, developers, remodelers. I can't support any of the changes with this one still included. I would prefer this one be removed. I remember from our last work session, my understanding was this is not a provision that you commonly find in other municipalities, that we would be one of the first ones to enact it. I don't think that's the kind of test case we should do and limit our folks from building homes that have basements. The modern family uses basements on a regular basis. We have storms in this area. If you've read some of the reports over the last year, the new tornado alley has shifted to now include our area, basically. And so I don't think discouraging the development of basements is probably something we want to do. And so I would propose that we remove parentheses 9 entirely.
Mayor, I
Yes.
think this is one of the most important pieces to keep in this process. I've also heard from a lot of people that feel we don't need deeper basements. I think it is the basements and going down into the groundwater. So the learning that I've had, groundwater is different than stormwater, and that groundwater is going to saturate the yard even before we get the rain. This is allowing the footprint of the basements that are there today. And I know the Board of Adjustment, I learned just 1/2 of an inch the other day. Is there a way if people need the deeper basement to come above ground instead of going deeper into ground? My concern in allowing the deep pour basements is it just leads to more of our historic homes being torn down that we're not renovating, we're not maintaining what we already have. It's just going to continue to promote tear down and rebuild because people can still get the home that they want to have in Kirkwood. So I think this is one of the most important measures that we have. It's not preventing basements. It is keeping them in the footprint that they already have. And then I don't know, when you know 1/2 of an inch of something, not even an inch, it's dangerous. I know Board of Adjustment made a slight variance the other day for a basement to come up slightly higher based on the homes next to it. So this, for me, is a measure that we maintain more of our current homes. We allow remodeling of those current homes. but we prevent a lot of tear downs, which I think most of us feel is an awful lot of the water challenges that Kirkwood's had over the last decade.
One of the things you brought up was allowing the elevation to be higher. That was debated left
Yeah.
and right, and no one wanted to do that because you would have neighborhoods that
Oh, yeah.
have all
Mhm.
different
Right.
elevations.
And I don't
um,
know enough to know that that's the answer. And I'm not proposing that that's the answer. I just feel digging deeper into water tables that have probably already been dug into, that already produce groundwater. We're just adding more and more water to our systems that we know are already overloaded for where they are today.
And I know some are building, 10 and 12-foot
Mhm.
deep basements. Mhm. Councilmember Schaefer.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, so here we go. Let's try some compromise here. Okay? I ask everybody that's up here and in here, who doesn't have a basement? Who has a slab poured that they're living in? That's a safety issue for me. Wentzville requires that now as part of their ordinance, that you have to have a basement if it's feasible to be able to have a basement. So I'm back full course that we're gonna have a basement. That's where I'm gonna hold my foot to it. Now, do we have to go 10 or 12 feet deep? No, we don't need to go to China. We can stay out of China and we could do an 8-foot pour.
Mhm.
And then we can save historic houses because we can lift houses that have stone basements to them now that got basically a 5-foot walkway. I've done copious amounts of these in my day, and we've hung plumbing and all of this stuff. This is common sense stuff. So we go down 8 foot, like, and the builders still can get their ductwork in if they get special trusses that can run the ductwork. If they get the cross trusses, they can run their plumbing, their electrical, everything up in there and get a smooth ceiling, and they get their basements. So where I'm holding the line is we need basements if they're feasible, but not to dig down so deep that we're into the hydrostatic pressure that the pumps are always running. Then if we've got a pump that's running, now they don't run to the street anymore, any of the new builds. So that's all old builds that have that's run to the street that you're mentioning and talking about.
They have to be
So,
10 feet, is that right? 10,
pardon me?
they have to be 10 feet from.
They have to go to a dry well,
Right.
and then they're 10 feet from the
Right,
property
you
line.
gotta, they have to mitigate it on their property, 10 foot from an edge of another property.
Mm.
So that's a state law. We can't mandate or take that away. So for me, it's a safety issue. Bringing back to Justin, everything's changing, that we're getting more storms here. Again, for me, this is really low hanging fruit. We need the 8-foot basements. I think 8-foot basements, I've not heard anybody from the builder side that wouldn't be okay with an 8-foot build basement. And if we're putting an addition on, that they can go ahead and dig an 8-foot basement for that. I can tell you, I did it in my day and it worked out great. I did mine a half a foot lower. I captured that water from my old part of my house into the sump pump and I discharge it, and it's in my yard. And so it can be done. It's just, that's my end. Okay, I'll be quiet.
Okay. Justin, can you live with 8 foot?
So I would want to see what that language looks like, because number 9 is a very lengthy, wordy paragraph.
Right.
So what are we taking out and what exactly is it going to say?
Well,
But in theory, I'm tracking.
can we have staff come back to us and clean this up
100%.
and less words, nice and simple. We don't need to squeegee it all up with a bunch of other words here, just 8 foot deep, and you mitigate the water on your property.
So Paul, first, a couple questions. If I go down 8 feet and then put my pipes in and my ductwork and all that, what's that allow from the floor to the ceiling height wise?
7.
7?
7 feet, okay. So I'm okay with that. I'm good with that.
7 is livable space.
Right.
Right, and then the. Oh, okay, so if we say 8 feet, what if there's water level is 20 feet? I go 12 feet, 10 feet?
No, we have a standard.
So
8 feet.
you're suggesting the maximum is 8 feet?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, that's,
And I'm gonna take
that
it,
makes a clean language for these guys to draft. That's why I was asking that.
Okay.
I'm gonna take it one step further with that, just, I'm waiting until they get done talking over here, then they can hear. So they make these livable basements as well while they're doing, put a window well in so that they can make a bedroom down in a basement. Now, I know I'm gonna go way out here. People are gonna look at me, I'm crazy, but you're looking at me. So we don't have to have ADUs in a backyard that creates even more water runoff. Mom can move into the basement of the house that she owns. The kids can take over the house upstairs and everybody's happy in one place.
I don't know about that.
I knew I was gonna get this, but I'm trying to create less water that's being generated off of a piece of ground.
I think so. I mean, that's much better than what we got.
I guess I would ask staff, because this is probably not something I'm gonna be able to comprehend and convert what Paul's talking about into what's here. So, if I read this, there's a percentage of Kirkwood that it would be difficult to put a basement in because of where the water table is
Mhm.
on the map, right?
Mhm.
What he's suggesting is still going to put the basement into the the water table, right? It's still
Potentially.
gonna Potentially require nonstop
Mitigation.
mitigation.
Mhm.
It's still gonna saturate the yards. So when we have a
Potentially.
major rain,
Mhm.
you add another, so I'm just gonna try to make sure I understand this. Currently, we're gonna put groundwater into our yard, into the rain gardens.
Mhm.
Saturate our yard
Yeah.
more. Now, it will mitigate some of the watering that we're doing, so there's some water there. I'm gonna accept that. And then we have a major rain
Uh-huh.
of 1.25 inches all at once. And you have a saturated yard, what happens?
What happens? Well,
We have
the whole
more
yard,
water
whole yard
going into
saturated.
there, you start to have more flooding in the yards, correct? Because
Um,
you've already saturated the yard,
Right. I mean,
and
it
then
would
you have these
run
neighbors,
off.
you're gonna have more runoff, right?
Yeah. I
So
guess
my concern is this is intended to prevent the major reason we're doing this in the first place, which is we continue to saturate our yards before there is a major rain event. And when we have a major rain event, then the yards, everything just goes out into the systems and the streams, and that's causing more problems and causing flooding in the streets. So for me, I don't know if that gives the builders 20%, 50% more places they can put a basement in. But I am still a proponent of this because I believe the major reasons we're having these is we have these yards that are saturated. And when we have major rains, then we are pushing more water into the system. And that is causing other people's yards to get flooded. And from a safety perspective, you could still create safe spaces in homes without a basement. That is not necessary. That's just what we as a society here have deemed it. And it's not a requirement. It's
It is
what we've,
it is a requirement in other municipalities.
because
Not here yet.
somebody said they needed that, but that's not necessarily true. I grew up in Kansas and you didn't, and lived without a basement. And there were tornadoes all the time. And you
Right,
did
you had a
things.
storm shelter that you would go to. I
Right. So, I
understand.
mean, there are other ways to keep people safe and build safe places, but we have to think about the greater good. And I am very concerned about our community as a whole are streets that are flooding, and they're flooding because we're shoving more water during major rain events in saturated yards. So that's why unless you guys can convince me that this 8-foot basement solution isn't going to keep causing that problem, I still believe this is the best solution for this community. So
I have a question, I think, for Jennifer. So if homes in Kirkwood have basements, are they likely to be either the deeper pour on newer homes or more of an 8-foot? So if somebody buys my house and redoes my basement, I have a very old basement. I'm not quite sure it's 7-foot tall finished, probably 6.5, 7, somewhere in there. But then they would have permission to go, let's just say, a foot deeper at my home if somebody tears down and rebuilds, because we're going to set it at 8 foot versus you can only go as deep as what you already have.
So, yeah, I mean, the 8-foot pour is from top of foundation all the way down. So then you lay a foot for all of your joists and stuff.
Right.
So if you currently have 7 foot, 6.5, then you're at 7.5, 8-foot pour,
Most likely.
most likely.
Okay.
And I would, most of the basements that I've been in Kirkwood seem to be
At
about
least
that.
that amount.
Yeah,
Right.
in the older homes.
So then another question, Councilmember Schaefer brought up, if he's going to put in an addition and put a basement under his addition, is that going to still be restricted inside of the 55% maximum of impervious space that you can have on your lot?
Well, typically you build a structure over the addition or over the basement. So yes, it would.
Okay.
I mean, if
and
you
then do
Build the
we,
basement
do
without.
you
the
have to
structure
have a
over-
basement in your new addition?
Well,
that-
you can
No.
have crawl space.
You can have crawl space.
Is that,
Yeah, that's like 4
and
foot.
and is that anything that could be included? I certainly like the standardization,
Mhm.
right? But in some places that have slabs, putting in 8-foot basements all up on one street is what Ruth and
Mhm.
Woodgate.
Woodgate up there probably have,
Surrey and all
probably
that.
have, probably have just a row of slab houses, right?
Mhm.
If they all put in 8-foot pour basements, are we going to Councilmember Burkett's point, suddenly have a whole lot more flooding up in that area than we have now? Because now everybody has an 8-foot basement.
Tentatively.
So I
They have
think,
to put in a BMP, right?
They have to put in a drywall. Yeah.
which then saturates things. And when you have major water events, if you're
Right.
constantly pumping water out into these areas, there's nowhere for that 1.25 you're supposed to capture to go.
well, there's not even room for
Right?
maybe the
Like,
half.
Also,
that's
this,
a concern.
yeah, the BMP for the sump pump is a separate BMP than for the dry well or for stormwater mitigation. I require them to be hydraulically separated and that the BMP for the sump pump be downhill from a BMP for stormwater mitigation so that the water doesn't migrate into it, so that that cup is still there and able to catch the 1.14, 1.25, whatever it is, rain event.
And that's newer expectations, correct? Is that, or is that like, so it's not is it working? Let me ask this
Yeah,
question.
I think,
Is
I
it
mean,
working?
I
Because
don't,
if it is,
that's what
well,
I,
then we have the
been
problem we
doing.
have.
I've been doing that and, I mean, I have not gotten any calls
I'm just
on
trying to
anything that
understand timing, right?
currently-
Like, we're
This is new.
issues.
This is, the BMPs are how old? How many years?
I mean, BMPs in general are, yeah, 7 years old, and the separation of the BMP, the stormwater BMP from the
Groundwater.
groundwater BMP is something that I implemented when I started because I
That was
noticed.
how long ago?
I started 2 years ago.
All right.
that's what I'm.
Because I started noticing that these.
Okay, to try to
getting
bring
full.
this together, I think we've got a compromise on the table, and I think it's a good place to start. And that is with the 8-foot pour. So.
But I have
um,
great concerns north of Manchester on those streets. If all of those homes are suddenly taken down and all of those homes suddenly have 8-foot poor basements.
But they've got two BMPs at the same time.
Where do those homes sit on the water table, do we know?
Pardon?
Where are those homes that they're talking, that Councilwoman Lavender's talking about?
I don't know off the
I
top of
think
my
they're in the
head.
green area. I think they're in the green.
Oh, I
area.
thought they were in
I'm not
very
sure.
short, or you didn't have to
Uh,
dig far to get into
I have no
water
idea.
table.
We
All
don't-
right, so,
nobody has that.
so the BMPs, which you re-pointed out to me, is would the size of the home and basement be determined by where and how you have those two BMPs? What, I mean, I know we've got 55% coverage. You're going to have two BMPs, groundwater, stormwater. Is all of that going to fit on the same lot?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, with 55, with a 55% maximum coverage, that gives them an opportunity to put those, typically they put one in the front and one in the back.
All right.
And just a point of reference, those streets that we're talking about, Missouri, Woodgate and all that. The reason they don't have basements over there isn't because they didn't build with basements. Those were put in after the Korean War. That was Burton Dinky was building quick homes for our servicemen to come back. They did everything on a slab quick so that they had housing. So
Mhm.
because there was some water runoff or anything like that. So a little historic background there. And they had a lot over in DePere as well. They did the same thing over there. So.
Back to allowing basements at an 8-foot pour. I
I
think,
would say, yeah, have them
Mhm.
bring us back something that is clear and easy to understand for everyone. Not squiggly. We'd be much better at looking at. Please.
okay, are we okay with that down there?
Rick gets into this too.
No, we've
No,
got
but
one.
You don't
no.
need my, I
But
mean,
it sounds like
you
we've got,
follow me.
okay,
gotta know.
okay, all right. I think so, yeah. Okay, let's go on to the next one, please.
Next one is all infill development shall comply with the applicable provisions of chapter 25 zoning and subdivision code. I think that's just a textual change. Section 4B, BMPs for sump pump discharge. Discharges required by this section shall not discharge into stormwater BMPs. We've kind of discussed that, I think. Some pumps shall include an emergency overflow design to convey excess water to the public sewers inlet where such inlet exists within the property boundary or adjoining right-of-way unless not permitted by MSD.
Yes.
So I'd like to throw something out here and just bat it around a little bit. Mark, you with me? Okay. I want you to listen.
I'm always
Listen
looking
here.
at you.
Legal hit. So somebody has a lot and 3 lots down is the stormwater inlet. We did in our day, we would take out the sidewalk and we would take our water and we'd take it down to the stormwater inlet, and MSD was thrilled to death that we did that. I don't know, is that allowed anymore? I'm
No.
asking. Okay.
Yeah, you'd have to extend the public sewer up.
It's allowed, but it would have to be public sewer.
It would become now a stormwater inlet that they would have to add in front of a house to
Mhm.
be able to do that.
Right.
So MSD won't allow that anymore, is
No.
what you're telling me.
No.
No, I mean, you can't, yeah, you can't just take your private lateral
The
down
private
there,
Drain.
private drain
um,
down there.
down there
You would have to
and-
extend the public sewer up
Got it.
like they did over at the Hillcrest job.
Can individual builders do that?
But they can, it's at an expense.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Um,
it can be done.
yeah,
So that then we mitigate the water going on the street, so we don't have slime or anything. We got that right into a stormwater inlet and we're done.
So that's what they did at Fort Hillcrest.
Exactly,
That's exactly what they did.
exactly.
went
But they captured it in
two
the
pro-
backyard instead of all the way up to Hillcrest.
well, that's
Yeah.
because that's where they needed it.
I understand.
Yeah.
Oh, no,
All
I
right,
know.
so who did that? MSD or
The
the
home,
homeowner?
it was a legal thing between the builder and the homeowner, and somebody paid for it.
Yes.
Okay, so Paul, I'm sorry, are you making a change? Are you suggesting?
Well,
a
I'm
change?
asking whether the staff could go back and look at that and add some verbiage to it. They know better how it should read, and if it's
Are you asking it to, us to require them to extend the
not
public?
required, just let's bring it back with a motion that we can look at it both ways. Give us two options. How's that? But leave it as it is, and then an option of whether we want to ask that we move that if they're close or whatever. I mean, this is something that builders, I think, some will be happy with it, some won't be happy with it. So
Okay.
again, it's just,
Are you asking for an option to extend the public sewer, or you're asking for requirement?
no, let's leave it as an option.
So you're asking that a builder have the option to extend the
Stormwater.
stormwater inlet up to
Their
the
property.
property where they're building to discharge their groundwater directly into the extended stormwater inlet.
Providing MSD allow it,
Okay,
because they have jurisdiction.
okay.
That sound fair? Okay. I'm getting it
At,
now.
at the developer's
don't-
cost.
Prohibited
All right, and
now.
then along those same lines, if that developer goes in front of my house, could I have the right then to hook into that also
But that
with
would be
MSD?
an
Yeah.
with MSD? I mean, would MSD usually okay that?
I mean, yeah, you'd have to get a permit from MSD to do it, but yeah.
Does every house along the way have to get a permit to
Yeah,
tap into?
Yeah, unless,
Yeah.
unless it's done at the time that this, if you put in when it's going in, let's say a bunch of neighbors go together and they put in and do it together, and then it's all part of the system, then you can all get approved.
And then they do.
Projects.
Shows, they know what size
Mhm.
stormwater vitreous clay pipes they've got that are running around. They know exactly how many CFMs can get through there, and they're not gonna overload their system.
I have one more
All right.
question if I can. With sump pumps and BMPs, if my sump pump's going into a BMP, is that likely to have my BMP become less effective faster because of the nature of water pumped by the sump pump, or not necessarily?
They're separate.
No.
Well, I
it's
know they're
not gonna
separate, but is that BMP going to need
Grade?
more maintenance because sludge is produced at the bottom faster because it's sump pump water versus stormwater water?
I can't say if it's gonna be fast or whatever, because stormwater is gonna have, potentially could have organic debris,
All right, so
From
not
maybe-
necessarily,
provide protection on it, but smaller particles can get
Yep.
in.
and both BMPs require inspection every 3 years to make sure they're doing what they should be doing.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Are we good? Are we good with that one? Okay. So moving on, I think we're at number 5, right?
That was 5.
Oh, that was 5. Okay, number 6.
Yeah, number 6, stormwater BMP construction escrow, $1,000, 100% refundable upon final inspection and acceptance of the Department of Public Works, so long as the final inspection occurs not less than 1 year after the associated permit expires. That's it's kind of.
Anybody have a problem?
I do. I have a question.
Sure.
It's my understanding that occupancy is tied to the final inspection and approval of the BMP
For new builds.
for new build. This makes no sense to me.
If you're doing an addition or a garage, there's no occupancy associated with that. And so they
They
don't,
get a year.
they get a year to call in the final inspection.
Okay.
And they may be called 2 years later or 3 years later.
How many times a year do they not call for the final inspection or something like this? Like once a year, 3 times a year?
I can't say. I'm not sure how often that is. You have any idea? It's hard to know because it doesn't show up anywhere.
Well, it shows up in the deposit all of a sudden. All right, now I guess it get that done because the deposit.
just sits there.
Sits there. And this would now be revenue to the city. And ultimately we're going with this. I'm not sure if it's possible, but I'd like to see if that $1,000 then could go to a fund for common sense mitigation to fix issues.
$1,000?
On top of,
Well, as it adds up, we
Yeah.
could provide grants to, we could provide
There you
grants
go.
to citizens who are having issues
Uh,
to do
Yeah.
just like MSD
Well,
does.
something, I don't know.
Like,
yeah.
is that, yeah, I like
Yeah,
that idea.
well.
Sorry.
I think, Mark, to your question, I think it's been a handful of residents that don't call in their final.
Okay.
It's not a lot, but
It's not a lot, but it's
Yeah.
just, again, yeah.
close that out.
I know, so this way it's closed out and it's money to the city that I would like to see somewhere or another if we can, go back to
Yeah, trees.
trees, there you go.
Correct.
That'd be awesome. Yes.
We have two section
it's not in
sixes.
for.
So can we do the
Ah.
second part of section 6?
Oh, is that,
Gonna be my question to you.
yeah,
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm making a proposal here, because we've talked about this before with the previous council, that it would be a 6-month out versus this date. So I'm looking at January 1 of 2027. That's 6 months out.
what was that date?
January 1st of 2027. That way, that gives anybody that's got a lot that's getting ready to be built, or they're thinking about buying a lot or whatever, that gives them 6 months. They get, so whatever we end up doing here, that gives that from the date that we go out, whenever we approve this, 6 months out to get their ducks in a row. And if you aren't, this is the new law in town, and this is where we're going.
I like the January 1
Where?
information too.
Well,
Yeah, come on.
Sorry.
He's still saying January 1st, so don't add carefully.
Maybe.
I like January 1 for MSD because it being coincide with
There we
MSD.
go. That's why that's why I put
That's not
January
quick.
1. That,
No, I think,
I
Yeah.
knew there was another reason I put that.
That's right.
Sorry.
Justin?
And
this might be a question, sorry for you, Sarah, but my question is, at what point do these come into play? Is it when projects are on Jennifer's desk?
ARB.
They
Yeah,
submit-
they ARB,
They submit their ARB application.
when it gets.
As soon as it gets in the system,
Right.
then that's the rules that they're under.
I got an email today from somebody who's concerned and wants to hurry up because apparently somebody has submitted a request for their neighbor to tear down and rebuild without any of these provisions being included. And she's concerned that they're hustling to get their house built without any of these measures and is concerned about the water. So
That's a
Mhm.
good neighbor. Very sarcastic.
thank you.
That-
On top of stormwater, there's also grading associated with the site that's looked at. There's lots of things that are looked at on the site to make sure that it is as best as I can, make them design or build to a neighborly manner.
And to the point that Deb was bringing up about Board of Adjustment this past week, they raised the home a little higher
Mhm.
to match what was the homes on either side. So then they got it out of the ground a little further.
Mhm.
So I'm fine with that, just as soon as they get their 6-foot or 8-foot pour.
Mhm.
So.
Hey, I should have read this earlier for you, Mayor. I got this today. Maybe Kirkwood would rent our yards to use as wading pools in the neighborhood for the neighborhood children, or maybe even stock them with fish. So, obviously a resident that has a lot of water in their yard.
Yes, yes. Okay. Thank you both very much. I think we've got some good things done, and then we will get the full manual along with the changes that are being proposed.
Yeah, so in the future, at a future work session, you'll see the revised changes to the ordinances, and then we'll go over the manual
Okay,
changes as well. Thanks.
Great. Yeah, I will update the manual with these recommendations.
okay. Thank you. Okay. Now you are on, Jonathan, officially. Talk about downtown zoning regulations. And there were a lot of them.
So Jennifer and Chris don't have to stay to help support
That's-
Jonathan?
That's what I was, yeah, I was just giving them a hard time about that. I appreciate their,
Yeah.
your support. Enjoy your dinner. All right. Oh, do you mind?
Okay, 5-minute break. Good. Sorry, John.
Nope, it's all right. No problem.
I could always use that.
I don't have to go.
too, even. And it's a result of the planning session that we had in July, and we all had lots of questions. We're pretty excited about it. And so this is a continuation of that
Yeah.
planning session. So take it away, Jonathan.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor and Council, for allowing me to continue this conversation, as the mayor said. So after the planning session in July, I received some input from a few of you as well on kind of what specific topics to drill down more into. So I provided a memo to you all with 4 items that I went more into detail. I tried my best to weave the different feedback that I got together. I'm sure I missed some, and I apologize if I did or didn't answer questions fully. I'm happy to look into things further or cover other topics as needed. But what I was able to try to organize the questions or topics into these 4 areas, starting with the current downtown vision, preservation of downtown historic structures, allowable buildings, and then architectural design standards. So if you'd like, I'll just kind of summarize the memo.
I think so.
So as far as the current downtown vision, so we, as you all know, we have our downtown master plan that was completed in 2018. And for those of you that were around and able to participate, it was actually a really exciting process here. The council chambers here, we used it for what they call a charrette or a workshop for a few days, and the presentations were well attended, standing room only. It was a fun time as a planner to be involved in a great process. It's the only time I've seen a consultant receive flowers at their final presentation. A member of the community came up, not from staff, a member of the community came up and gave her flowers. So just a fun story. We didn't use city funds for it, I guess was my point. We didn't, that is the, right, so.
In case anybody.
So the master plan was created in 2018, which went through a lot of study of the downtown area, but ultimately did provide an illustrative vision for downtown Kirkwood, along with various code recommendations to enact that vision, and provide a clear idea of what's allowed downtown. Some of the vision, and it's important to know because we had a lot of questions about this shortly after the plan was completed. The illustrations and ideas in that study, they weren't meant to be prescriptive, meaning like that exact business or building type had to go on that exact property. What the consultant DPZ intended to do was provide real life examples of how some of these things that we wanted could be implemented. But we got questions, for instance, when the James went in, I think they showed a grocery store on that property, right? And somebody said, well, why aren't we following the vision of our downtown plan? And again, that was not to say this had to go here. It was just, here's how you can do it. They showed, and especially to get people thinking about other types of building or development that we didn't have. So considering different forms of development that not been recently seen in Kirkwood, like missing middle housing that we talked about earlier, and different forms that can take. Do you want me to pause in between each of these, or do you want me to keep?
Why don't we just, if anybody having any questions or comment, they can just kind of raise their hand at the time. So I'd
Perfect.
say, just keep going.
Okay. All right. So again, there's additional information in my memo. I'm just kind of giving an overview. But moving on to the second category about preservation of downtown historic structures. So we do have a downtown historic district on the National Register of Historic Places. It is a national district, not a local district. And so that does have implications as far as our codes go. I did provide, a verbal explanation of it is probably not great. I provided some aerial photos that have the boundaries of it, but it is basically the 100 blocks of East and West Jefferson and Argonne, as well as the 100 and 200 blocks of South Kirkwood Road on the west side. So where we are now is part of it, the block to the south on the west side. Obviously, there's new development on the east side, so that's not included. And then Jefferson and Argonne, 100 blocks. But there's a few exceptions to that are shown on the diagram I provided. So in that national district, our local regulations, including the 270-day maximum review for demolition, does not apply just because of the district, but it does apply to the 20 individual landmark properties in the downtown area. So an attachment to my memo as well provides a list of those. I'm not going to list them, but it is in the packet online as well for anybody following along. So all those 20 properties are subject to the landmarks ordinance, which includes, like I said, the 270-day review period. In addition to the 20 landmarks, generally preservation efforts for downtown structures. Another thing that I think is I really appreciate us having is the parking regulations that incentivize reutilization of existing structures by not requiring parking to be evaluated when somebody reuses a building. So in other places of the city and in a lot of communities, if you change a use, if you go from an office to a restaurant, or if you go from an office to a a doctor's office, an accountant's office to a doctor's office, you would have to, the staff would evaluate parking because those require additional parking. But in a pedestrian-oriented downtown and in an effort to preserve and to encourage reutilization of historic buildings, the city, and this was, I probably should have looked this up. It's been on the books for a long time in the city that we have not required additional parking requirements. We do require if somebody adds on or builds new in downtown that they follow our parking requirements. But after 2018, we did also reduce the parking requirements that we have downtown to reflect the pedestrian-oriented nature of it. So let's see. In addition to exemptions from parking requirements for existing buildings, we do provide, one of you asked this specifically, we do provide we have various provisions to provide shared parking opportunities. They're probably not perfect. I know they're not perfect, but we do have multiple options that have been utilized over the years to allow
What kind of parking?
shared parking. So there's kind of two different levels of it. If one property has additional parking that they don't need, they can enter into a recorded agreement with another property. And as long as it's within a certain distance, that can count for their parking. Together, they still have to provide the parking that they need, right? And then the other opportunity is in a mixed-use building. Actually, DPZ created a table for us with the downtown master plan process that has this pro forma in it, whereby because of time of day and day of week usage. So for instance, an office and I should have thought of a good example, I apologize, but there are some uses that are used in the daytime heavier than the nighttime, right? And so this pro forma that we have that they provided to us with percentages, it allows a slight reduction when there are a use that is daytime heavy and a use that is nighttime heavy. It allows them to share, right? And it's a spreadsheet that we have, and we provide it to developers, and if they can use it, they can use it. So
Jonathan, what was the parking requirements before 2018?
they were the same citywide. Does that answer your
We just
question?
lowered it for downtown. So
Yeah, I mean, it's for the majority of things. I will say, actually, like restaurants, for example, were lowered citywide, and it is the same requirement downtown versus out, except that's only for a new or an addition downtown. If you're in an existing building downtown, you don't, it's what you have is what you have. And so.
Jonathan,
Yep.
I know that nationwide, the trend is to decrease parking. I know we are moving towards a more walkable downtown, but is that truly translating into fewer Kirkwoodians who drive and have cars? I certainly know some seniors that have retired and they might have one car, and yes, they live close enough and they double up. But are we truly seeing a decrease in people who have cars as we're going to downtown parking of 1.5 versus 2 spaces per unit?
I don't have data on that. What I can tell you is the nationwide trends are kind of twofold. It's popular in areas that already don't have parking, or to strongly encourage, require people to walk, right? If you don't have an option to park, you're gonna ride your bike, you're gonna walk.
Some cities, I mean, we certainly think coastal cities, there's multiple options of different kinds of transportation that
Sure.
people utilize, and very, very few people who live in downtown significant cities may not even have a car because what they might need one for, they rent it, they Uber, they whatever.
Yeah.
But I didn't know if that trend had gotten to Kirkwood.
I mean, I certainly see a lot of people walking and biking around downtown. I'm sure you all do as well. And then the more housing we add downtown, the more captive customers you have, right? The easier it is to
I also
walk.
know
So,
recently, I happened to be at the Department of the Museum of Transportation, same day, and then we went to the McDonald's down
Mm.
here on Kirkwood. The Museum of Transportation has so much parking. I can't imagine there's a day that it's full. that
Sure.
They have that much. And even our own McDonald's, I've never seen anybody park down where their, the
Mhm.
turnaround in the order.
At the east
is-
end, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and it just seems like maybe at one point in time, that was how much parking was required for that restaurant. Now that it's at the back of their lot, I don't know that it's usable for anything else. It just seems a shame that there's so much land
Mhm.
that's designated for parking that is probably literally never used. And I know the Museum of Transportation, I think, is De Pere. I don't think it's our
I
property.
think it's
is it?
county, right? Unincorporated county.
I
yeah.
know that's not, but I just was
Yeah.
really struck by,
I mean,
I mean, almost a full acre.
Yeah.
it Felt like of parking spaces that I can't imagine they ever use.
Yeah, I mean, we have, as Councilmember Arnold asked about, we have lowered, even, we did evaluate parking across the city, not just downtown. So as we lowered our rates, if somebody has excess, and even though they developed under that, and if it's enough excess to carve out and build something else, they could do that. Our code, we would reevaluate the parking, and if they have enough to carve something out, they can do that, and we would encourage them to do that, so.
But on McDonald's lot, McDonald's not going to carve out and do something else. Would they sell that to somebody else?
Sure, I mean, they have frontage. I think that part
Yeah.
stretches all the way to Taylor, thank you. So feasibly, they could sell it off, as long as they meet the codes with what they have left, sure.
Artist Street or something.
It's private now. I mean, they might have to subdivide. I mean, they would probably have to subdivide to do it, but, and
I'm not
there's a
saying
lot, there's a
in
lot
any
of
way they would
ifs,
wanna
or,
do
or,
that,
yeah,
take
yeah.
that on. It just seems to be a tremendous amount of space relatively downtown that will probably never be developed. And there's places to park.
I mean, I think our job in that is to make our regulations allow for that. We remove the hurdle. I mean, it's the common discussion about AT&T's parking lots, right? So, I mean, there's plenty of area. A big part of the downtown master plan was also highlighting underutilized areas, and we tried to tread lightly, not to offend anybody, but they highlighted a lot of areas that could be used more appropriately. And so we just,
He is not a good neighbor.
Well, I think they needed all of those spaces.
To that
today.
point, are we in a position where we try to work and get people to consider allowing for parking on their lots when it's not in use? Or is that something we just let neighbors try to work out?
I guess it depends on the situation. So our code, for the most part, just because it's not practically being used or in practice being used, it's still required by our code. But if they have excess by our code, it's not something that that staff is proactively going out to them and saying, we've noticed your parking lot's not used. But I will say, I believe that when we did the downtown master plan, it piqued people's interest. I put it in my memo, but we had a substantial increase in redevelopment since 2018 in downtown and interest in it. Both the Commerce and UMB both went out on their own, right? They did that all on their own. It's their decision to do that with their private property. And we have continued to see people look at opportunities downtown, so. Okay. Think I was going on to number 3 then for allowable buildings. This one I may not have hit the mark on, so I apologize, but generally allowed in downtown, use-wise, everything from retail, restaurants, office, multifamily, or a combination of them. We did prohibit drive-through uses and after the downtown master plan in downtown, and then industrial uses obviously are generally prohibited in downtown. As far as the building form goes, there was some information in the memo I had from the July planning session. But again, as you all probably are aware of at this point, but mixed-use buildings that include non-residential and residential uses can request to go up to 60 feet by our code. Anything that is a single use is limited to 40 feet, and I'm talking about the B2 district specifically. There was some questions also from some of you about some of the recommendations from our downtown master plan about limiting height or regulating height by stories rather than feet, and also limiting the FAR, floor area ratio requirement. And again, we can always revisit those. It's perfectly fine if we need to do that. But just as background, shortly after downtown master plan, that story and height and feet discussion did go on for a little while. It got to a point where council considered at that time increasing the limit. At that time, doesn't mean it has to be how it is now, but at that time, just using stories was too open-ended for them, and they weren't comfortable with that. But there was a change. We looked at doing 75 feet because that would be 6 stories with some variation. So there was a lot of discussion about it, and ultimately what they determined was to accept or exempt non-occupied space above 60 feet, which allows for variation in building design, allows for a sloped roof or what have you. So that was a change that was made out of that to allow for different building designs, but not pushing the envelope more than that. The FAR discussion really after the height and stories discussion didn't go any further, but we can always have that discussion when if you all deem it appropriate. So, yep.
Jonathan, if I understand correctly, what would the FAR changes do? Like what would it help create? What was the intention around all of that?
To remove the FAR. So and honestly, the recommendation in the downtown master plan was to remove the regulation of floor area ratio downtown. And I believe, I don't know that I heard it directly, that was kind of in conjunction with the stories, not feet. But the best explanation I can give is right now, floor area ratio does limit bulk. It's just another layer on it, right? We have a height limitation and then we have a floor area ratio. So if we remove it, feasibly a building could be bigger. So I don't have a real good answer to
But if we have a limit on how high, if we have a limit, we talked earlier, there's no limit. It can on
commercial or
on the commercial,
Mhm.
because this would be commercial typically.
Yep.
There's no limit on permeability, right? Like it can take up the whole
Mhm.
space. So if I limit it on height and it can take up the whole space, I don't understand why we would need a FAR. Am I,
Yeah,
what am I missing?
it does seem like we have duplicitous regulations in a couple of different places.
Like that one?
So if you have a building that takes up the whole, so floor area ratio, if you cover your whole lot with one story, that's a FAR of 1. Okay, your floor area is 1/1. It's the same as your lot area. That's the ratio, floor area to lot area. One story that covers the whole property. That's a floor area of 1. I believe our B2 is 2.5, 2.5 that's allowed. So, and this is a very simplistic thing. We do have setback requirements and things, especially against residential. So, but just to keep it simplistic, if you're covering your whole lot in the B2 district, the FAR would cap you at 2.5 stories, or 2.5 stories essentially, where our height regulations might allow 3 or 4 stories because it allows 40 feet. So it's another layer of limiting the bulk of the building.
Doesn't our density already limit what can go in?
Density is for multifamily only for us. So the units, if we're talking about a commercial building, like an office building, it wouldn't apply to that.
So the FAR would still regulate a commercial bank, a commercial building.
Right.
The density of housing would take a multifamily commercial, I don't know, James, I consider a commercial multifamily. I don't
Right.
know if that's accurate, but
Yep.
it would
Mixed
limit.
use.
Mixed use, yep. Yep.
Mixed use, but the density limits the mixed use. The FAR limits a purely commercial building.
Well, FAR also plays a role in a mixed-use building and residential too, because density is units per acre, but it doesn't regulate the size of the unit. So the floor area ratio also then regulates the size of the unit because
Why do we need both? If the density already limits how many units you can have, why do we need to subject them to the FAR as well?
it's just to regulate how big you want the building to be. So that at one point, the floor area ratio requirements go back to probably the 20s, maybe 40s, so that it's been there quite a while. And some of the districts that we have don't have height requirements and only have floor area ratio. And that, I understand DPC's point, when you have that, it's less predictable because it can be a 20-story tower, with a small footprint, or it can be a 3-story tower with a much bigger footprint, right? So that's the unpredictability about it. In my opinion, it's less unpredictable because we have height regulations, density regulations, setback regulations. So I don't think it's a big deal.
To have all of this in place.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's okay if you guys disagree.
Jonathan, you say drive-through uses are generally prohibited?
They are prohibited. Industrial are generally prohibited,
But
but
industrial, I get that, but like
Yeah.
drive-through, like Walgreens, they have drive-through.
yeah, so it was a change that was put in. I forget the exact year, Councilmember McLean, but it was after 2018. One of the recommendations was to prohibit drive-through restaurants specifically. We brought that to the council, to Planning and Zoning Commission Council. Council actually said, let's prohibit all of it. So the idea is to drive-through uses have a lot more conflict points for pedestrians and generate a lot more volume typically, traffic volume, automobile volume. So the idea was if we want a pedestrian-oriented, pedestrian-friendly downtown, let's not allow. So we have Andy's, McDonald's, Taco Bell, right? There are plenty of them, but I forget the exact year, after 2018, it was determined that we should not have these anymore. Commerce Bank and UMB were the last ones to put their drive-through ATMs in before the regulation went into effect.
The Walgreens got there before.
Yeah, Walgreens is, yeah, yep.
We can't have an exit 11 in downtown.
And ATMs, you consider a drive-through?
Gotta have them a little further out.
Can have a-
And so it's actually, yeah, it's any, I forget how we define it. It's a drive-through, drive up, drive in. It's any where there's a transaction happening from the car directly.
That was,
Dry cleaners.
that was after the Starbucks proposal.
So Starbucks applied because they knew we were doing that. They got in right before this regulation was proposed. So they were the last one to try to, but that was, as you all know, was turned down because of traffic concern.
Do you know if it has limited business in any capacity? I mean, I totally appreciate the pedestrian points and traffic.
Mhm.
Have we foregone any food places that would capitalize on a drive-through?
We have had the question on, so for instance, on the vacant buildings north of Walgreens. We've had questions about drive-through uses there and we've told them no. We've had banks, existing banks ask about redeveloping and we have to tell them, unless you preserve what you have now and redevelop around that, you wouldn't be able to completely redevelop and rebuild with one. Just anecdotally, I guess, what I encountered.
Relief going forward for anybody that wants to do that would have to come back to council and change.
Yeah, they could apply if, they could come back to you and apply to change the code.
Do you?
They could just change the code. I mean, the drive-throughs were already previously, before prohibiting them, they were already special uses, and I would recommend keeping them special uses, but if they're added back in, but they would have to come back to allow them at all.
Okay.
Yep.
So when you turned down a drive-through looking at the buildings north of Walgreens and said, nope, we don't do drive-throughs, do you offer them the opportunity to have council members' emails or when public hearings are and if they wanted to present to council?
I can't promise you that I have said that every time, but I mean, I think generally, well, yeah, I can't say that I've said that every time. I mean, generally, real estate people and other development professionals know that that's an option.
It's kind of interesting, you talk about north of Walgreens there. I mean, that one building just north of Walgreens is sat vacant for how long?
4 or 5 years, I think.
Oh, yeah.
We could maybe had a nice little restaurant there or something.
There have been a number of restaurants and uses that have looked at it that wouldn't need a drive-through either. They just haven't come to fruition, so.
We want to hold off, do we want to entertain changing it maybe for that area north of Woodlawn or north of Walgreens in hopes of developing something, or say, nope, let's keep it the way it is, knowing that someday, like you, I just found out US Bank is for sale.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. And so, what is it gonna be? If we have no drive-through, are we gonna just have more James-type buildings there? Oh, versus a Walgreens, or I think.
When it was special use, it comes before council anyways, right?
Yes, sir.
We did change it. We'd still see them all before.
I will say as far as somebody asking about a bank, staff, we were workshopping with them and saying, yeah, here's the prohibition, here's the reason that it was passed at the time. Maybe if you proposed, we did talk about a text amendment, like maybe if you proposed one that was an internal one inside a structure, it's less visible, it's a little more sheltered from pedestrians and things. So people have asked and just decided not to pursue it at this point, so.
I'd like to maybe at least discuss it.
Oh,
maybe.
yeah.
Yeah,
Too.
not tonight necessarily, but.
Yeah. I agree.
That might be
That
one
way.
to,
Mhm. Not
considering there's been no development, especially
Yeah.
the north of Kirkwood, would that generate I don't know that a drive-through is gonna generate it.
Probably
I would say we might want to think about, are there other things that we need to think about for that particular area to generate more interest for that? Because I think they've sat for some
Yeah.
time, right? And I think that's part of what we've got to
The
think about.
owner is supposed to be very difficult. I mean, I think that.
No.
And
What-
the rent.
What
So
is
the
that-
owner doesn't want to sell. That's a big piece of it,
Okay.
is they want
Oh, he
to
wants to
retain
rent.
ownership. So that's a huge piece of it.
Okay.
If
What is
also
it zoned right now?
B2, downtown business,
And
central
if
business
we-
district.
So one of our first courses or events that we went to, newly elected munis, the concept was introduced to allow two zonings on a property that would open up opportunities. So B2 and I'm making this up now, B5, that you could place one on top of the other that might encourage.
I've
And-
honestly never heard of that.
I know.
And most,
And-
most codes,
Yeah.
prohibit, one parcel with, I'd be interested to see more
I'll
information
try
on
to
that. That
remember who and what,
makes me,
but I did come up
makes
as
me
an
very nervous.
Yeah.
I see
I mean, our, you know, our B2 district does allow a mixed use where you have commercial and residential. I mean, that's a little bit, but two zoning districts vertically on one property,
Try
hurt-
something new.
Sounds like a
Well, you,
design zone.
you could have like a mixed use district where you just
Yeah.
allow more uses. That's.
right.
Well, but if the owner wants to rent it, it sounds like that might be as much of the hurdle as anything we could do.
Okay. All right. The last item on the list for me was architectural design standards. So, you know, the code has multifamily and non-residential design standards. These were the ones that were specifically asked about. And I provided the sections there. I provided some excerpts at the end of my memo. That it is a combination of subjective and objective standards that the Architecture Review Board applies to the projects. They were developed by the Architectural Review Board originally in their substantial form, but then they were reviewed again by the ARB, the Planning and Zoning Commission, and I actually forgot about a joint committee, the larger committee for the review, but anyway, at minimal reviewed by the Architecture Review Board, Planning and Zoning Commission, and then City Council again, and when the code was reviewed in 2019 to 2021, and there were some tweaks made to them at that point. One of the most notable, in my opinion, was the fact that the regulations were tied to, or the standards, excuse me, were tied to geographic areas rather than zoning districts. So rather than have the same standard for an R5 building in downtown as Manchester Road, we said, no, there's different context, different expectations and standards. So the city was divided up into, with ARB's help in identifying those and laying out which ones were appropriate where. We made them geographic areas rather than zoning district based. So there were a couple topics at the end of my memo that I just wanted to make sure I wasn't neglecting, but they seemed like different ballpark to me. So there was a question about single stairwell allowance, which is a big thing across the state and across the country right now. In my opinion, is more of a building code.
Would you know if that was included in the 21st century road to housing bill that passed earlier this summer federally?
Not that I'm aware.
I sat in on a
Yeah.
quick Zoom call the other day for 45-ish minutes and it did not come up at all. I talked to someone today who thought that might have been inside of that bill to allow single stair units again.
Yeah, I don't know the
Yeah.
answer to that. I
Okay.
apologize. Yep.
No,
I know it
that's
hasn't
not-
been required at the state level here in Missouri, and nor locally.
And there was a bill in the state, I don't know how far it got this past year.
Right.
But I knew there was discussion of it at the state level to allow that to happen again.
And then the last topic that was on there was about revising the question was about revising zoning around the Grants Trail area. And really, I added the future land use because you really need to do that first in our comprehensive plan before you would just rezone. But
Could you explain that to me a little bit better?
Yep.
Revising the future land use versus rezoning?
yeah, so future land use is the part of our comprehensive plan, long-range plans that shows what do we want the uses to be in the future land use, right? And so that can be different than what the zoning is right now. The zoning is where the regulations come into play, and that's your ordinance, if you will, regulating the site. But there's often times when a city community wants something to happen and you're just not there yet. So if we were to, right now, our future land use in the Grants Trail area is light industrial. So if we were to rezone a property in there, B2 commercial, it would not be in conformance with our long-range comprehensive plan, which is not a good idea. So it's
Which reflects light industrial.
correct
Okay.
right now. So that's where we had talked about in one of the, in our budget discussions before, I know there's a lot of tough decisions, so I'm not bringing it up as a sort of subject, but staff has brought the idea of having a sub-area study done for that area. And then that would include the potential, if it was deemed appropriate by the community, to amend our long-range plan, or our future land use plan to show something different or discuss that. And then if it's shown in our long-range plan, and I still personally would recommend the city not rezoning those properties proactively, but when you change it in your land use plan, they can come to you and then you can consider that one by one. And that's what really generates that opportunity.
This was the Leffingwell study, really called the Leffingwell.
Yes,
right?
yes,
And it was
correct.
like $50,000 that we could have.
I think it was sorry, I think it probably was 50 by the final approach. I tried to scale it down. 75, I think was my original estimate. And to try to keep it alive, I tried to cut it back.
So we did a Leffingwell study, and originally we had hoped to look at land use along Grants Trail, and we needed to cut that section out because of budgetary concerns.
We did not do a Leffingwell area study. That was the,
Right, we didn't even do that.
It was
yeah.
close.
So the Leffingwell area was a sub area in our comp plan, and it recommended, there was 6 or so sub areas that recommended future study. And the Leffingwell area is one of those. So the downtown was one of those. So that's why we did the downtown one of the reasons we did the downtown master plan. We did a market study down at Kirkwood and Big Bend because that was a sub area. So the Leffingwell area study did not happen, but
Okay.
if it happens,
That would
it should include, in my
looking
opinion,
at-
it should include that.
And
review.
so I believe what I've heard is it would be a study, and do studies always require consultants?
To this extent with our staff, yes,
Because you all don't have the time to do that. That I can appreciate.
correct.
Do we know how much of that light commercial area right now is utilized for light commercial versus empty?
I don't, I mean,
Okay,
my understanding is it's pretty well utilized.
okay.
Um,
And that's
I
good.
know there are,
The only way to consider rezoning is to get a study done to look at that corridor to see what we may want to do in future land use along that corridor.
it's not the only way, it's the recommended way.
The other way is just say, I'd
Yeah.
like to do that.
So the comp plan, remember, is a long, big community
Right.
participation project, lots of open houses, lots of input.
Right.
So to change something that's in that, you really
Yeah.
could engage in a similar process.
Right, understood, understood. Okay. I have some questions on the next, I don't know, next page, I don't know. This guy looks like he's packing up, so I
Oh.
don't know if that meant.
The next page the next pages were the attachments. I probably should have labeled that better. So that was the memo that I provided at the July. But
Planning session.
yeah, but I'm finished with my presentation.
I have been struck by inside of the downtown master plan, the pictures on 140 and probably especially page 140 and some renditions on 139, 141 that show some inner plazas in some of our downtown areas that I believe we probably took out a street and created a pathway. The term here is the Kirkwalk.
Right. Mhm.
And I think the concept is amazing. I think most people who live in this area would just be floored and thrilled to have something along those lines in the downtown area. And I don't know if anything has moved forward with that concept at all.
So it has, not like these pictures show,
Or-
right? So in a couple different renditions, and I not intending to be funny about it, but so the locations are shown on the framework plan of where they recommended Kirk walk, right? I will say the way that they have been implemented so far is Kirk walk light, probably. So the sidewalk, the mid-block sidewalk behind, that will be built and finished behind Commerce Bank, was a connection that they said would be good to make as a pedestrian connection. So,
Along the Pittman or what we now say,
yep,
okay.
so that was required as part of that development from this plan. And again, I fully understand it does not look like this, but the idea was to increase pedestrian connection in additional areas.
And where will that sidewalk go from and to?
It, Adams to Washington.
Be, further east of?
On the east side, yeah,
Pittman
so,
Will be?
so it's already there on the Commerce Bank side, so they installed it with their development, and it'll continue all the way to Adams, just to provide additional pedestrian.
Okay.
The James Plaza, while on private property, there's a public use easement over it. There's also a public use easement over the sidewalk that they have north of their building that runs east, and that was shown on the downtown master plan as well. In case in the future, if there was ever a pedestrian connection made through to Taylor, I'm not saying that
Mhm.
will happen, but just we reserve the ability to do that if that's determined to be a good project. The ARIA, they have a public use easement over their plaza. So a lot of these we're encouraging in private developments and then requiring public access to
Tell
them.
me what a public use access,
So it means
What does that mean?
it is open to the general public to sit there, to utilize. They can't prohibit the public from entering that property. It becomes public property.
so
But it doesn't become public property.
Ivy-
Sorry, sorry, yeah, there is an easement, sorry,
At
Yeah.
Aldi's.
They can't post no trespassing. We have to be able to.
so there's a recorded agreement.
So how does that affect Ariel? I can walk past it or I can go into
The ARIA
Ivy
will have,
outside and sit down and have no challenge.
so the ARIA has a plaza that it's
Oh, all right.
it's covered right now by the
Yeah, yeah.
construction fences, but where we had the Ivy on Monroe last week, their seating will be on a portion of that plaza that was not part of the public use portion.
All right, so there's a
public-
public use portion
Mhm. It was about
near that
2/3 of
area
that. Mhm.
that, as in similar to Station Plaza, people will be able to go and sit.
It's
Okay.
not as large as Station Plaza.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
James has it too, but
Yep.
nobody uses it.
right.
because we don't know it's there.
Well, you can see it.
Not, I don't know.
Also on the north side.
That chair's on the inside of it.
Yeah, there's a,
that
Do I have to
open
pull
area.
into the
it's
lot?
right that, it's
to
right
be
on
able to
Kirkwood
see
Road.
it?
Alpine, but
It's right next to Alpine.
it's next to the Alpine parking lot
Okay.
that you're not supposed to park at.
Outdoor seating for Napoli.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
I always
The
probably
public-
just thought that was,
The outdoor seating in Napoli.
yeah,
Get your lawn chair and a cooler of beer and.
all right, and go sit down there.
Just used it.
Amazing but true. I would bring a bottle of wine. I am not a beer drinker. All right, all right.
Four hands,
Fox and Friends.
We still have one more thing to do, in closed session.
I have have we considered in any capacity the area behind, I think of Cornucopia and behind the Mexican restaurant? Have we ever considered just making that a plaza back in there?
I've heard a lot of people talk about it. It's private property.
Who owns it?
A number of different owners I think it's at least two
Each
different
building
owners.
Might have a portion of what that is back there.
Who's that? I'm sorry.
Each building.
Yeah,
owner
I
may
think-
have a portion.
Yeah,
of
I
the
think there are a
parking
couple of
lot.
them that have a portion
Okay.
of it. Yeah.
All right.
So,
And so truly to do anything like that, we'd have to buy the land and negotiate with the builder owners and,
or get easements, you
Right.
use easements and
right,
then you run into that is parking
of
now.
course,
So
of course.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
For mitigation for it.
Yeah, we'd have to have stormwater mitigation. We might be adding parking out in front of City Hall this next, months or so.
It's good to me.
Okay,
Um,
Deb, I'm about ready to cut you off.
I know, but I'm not done yet. So
One more thing.
how about just the chart on this page? pre-downtown master plan post, the 43 units per acre, the resident unit density, that's in place today, correct?
That's correct. Everything on that page is in place today. in
Right.
the-
Your street frontage, occupation, physical use or blockage, that's in place today, that you can take up almost 90% of the sidewalk out in front of you for 90%?
No, that's not with the street front, not the sidewalk. It's the street frontage occupation requirement is if you look at a property from the street and you say it's 100 feet wide, how much of that 100 feet has to be occupied by a building rather than surface parking?
All right, so it has nothing to do with how many people can sit outside a restaurant?
No.
All right, and then, you can tell me later, I have no idea what mixed-use commercial requirement is. And front yard structural setbacks, the improvements, you can tell me later what those items are.
Okay, just let me know when you want to talk.
Right. So now we will go down.
We need
do
to.
we have a motion?
To go into
Motion.
Close.
Second.
Okay,
What's the
roll
motion?
call, please.
Oh,
We're going into
you.
closed session.
Motion, read it off the agenda, sir.
Yeah.
Please,
Oh,
Mike.
I don't have it in front of me. Go ahead. Here we go.
Job.
Motion to close the meeting pursuant to RSMo Chapter 610.021 1-legal.
Thank you.
Let's go.
Councilmember R. Burkett,
Yeah.
Councilmember Dick Sedek is absent. Councilmember Lavender,
Yes.
Councilmember McLean,
Yes.
Councilmember Schaefer.
Yes.